Yeah. You don't want to carry it up somewhere? Just to be sure?
Alright. You gotta put here the room.
Yeah. Can't go up, yeah. Better.
Alright.
But look at that. Can turn it a little more to Daniel.
Oh.
Yes, right.
Yeah, like that, yeah.
Thank you, sis. I did not care. That's what I was saying.
What are
God
you
for
feeling right
deliverance.
now?
Overwhelmed.
Girl.
The way I'm expressing myself, I still feel like a movie.
Yeah. You know what, Daniel? There's a thing when you want deliverance, you know. That's why I tell people you have to want deliverance.
That's what I'm getting
because when
to.
you want deliverance, you don't even care who now come with you, you know. You just need to be free.
Exactly.
And I perceive that was what you felt. You needed this thing to go. I can just imagine being affected by this every single day.
It was a torment. I was tormented every single day, not only physically but mentally as well.
Yeah, and I remember we on our first interview where Dr. Charlene was inputting the fact that your body was literally being moved in the physical, like lifted, your legs opening, and you cannot see who is having sex with you.
Exactly.
But you were having sex. That must be traumatizing.
It is. It is.
So your deliverance started when?
So when I started to do my research, basically, so I went to London, like I said, because before that, I said to Father, you know what, I'm just going to fast until I basically die. Because there's no point for me to live like that. Doesn't make any sense, right? So I flew to London, and that's why I met Dr. Stewart.
Yes.
Right? And then she put me on the group with like-minded people. People were going through that as well. Similar situations, right? And that's where the process of my deliverance really started, because until then, nobody could actually help me. So Gideon was actually the only ministry that was able to help me in that process, right? So she started to teach us about prayer, about fasting, about how to deal with generational curses, how to address it in prayers in terms of the courts of heaven. So this is what I did. I basically asked for a divorce decree against that spirit that was married.
Yes, some persons will ask, what is a divorce decree?
It's the best way to explain it, when you're married, right, in the physical realm now, and you want to divorce, right? So you have to go before a judge, or you have a paper that you have to sign that you are divorced, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing spiritually. So she taught us to write a petition. That's a type of prayer. Write a petition in the courts of heaven, and that's what I did. So that was one part of my deliverance. It was a long journey, but through it. So I remember there was a particular time after I did the 21-day fast. That's where everything started to shift.
Yes.
Because it's like my spirit man started to take over. Yeah. And I wasn't the same person anymore. I wasn't afraid of it, because one thing that they take advantage of us is because we don't have the knowledge about, what they do, right? And then when you feel like a victim, there's no way you can conquer them, right? That's what Dr. Stewart taught us, how to actually fight and overcome, right? So I remember during the journey of deliverance, after I did my the 21-day fast, I was at home in my room, and that's where the Lord took me through I think that was the first part of my deliverance, but by myself at home. And I remember there was a particular vision that I had where after the deliverance session, I had a vision about somebody being in the coffin, right? And then the person came out of the coffin. So I have to dig into that, because I always had dreams about me swimming under the water, right? I was really, really deep under the water, and I always saw like a hand trying to reach out to help me get out of there, right? So basically, after I had the deliverance session, when I had the vision that I just told you, I knew exactly it was me, because I was basically buried under the sea.
My God. What a thing. And you know that you're at this point of your life, right? When you look back on what God brought you through, what you feel?
1,000 tongues wouldn't be enough to say thank you. That's what I feel. I
can
owe him my life.
Imagine.
My whole life.
I can just imagine, because even when I was going through a similar situation, I used to beg God to kill me.
Yes.
Because it's so hard to know. I sleep, like when night was falling, I get scared to death. Because I know what was going to happen to me.
Yes, exactly. Because you already know in advance, right?
Yeah.
You already know.
But the thing about it, that I was doing a it's not a podcast, it's something like a podcast. It's with Prophet Tevon Brown today, and I was saying to them that fire wired me. And what you're basically saying is that the fire you went through brought you closer to God, and that's what brought you your deliverance. But I want to go a little bit deeper, because you spoke about physical manifestation and how the thing would speak through you. Can you give us at least 2 examples of what that experience was, and even your deliverance at the altar where you were screaming and all that? What was that like?
It was crazy. I remember a particular situation whereby I said to the pastor that I want to get baptized, right? And one day before, I had again a dream. And that spirit, which was kind of like married to me, right? He came to threaten me and to tell me I shouldn't get baptized. But I still went ahead, right? I still went ahead for the baptism. So whilst we were driving there to get to the place whereby I was supposed to get baptized, that's where I literally jumped out of the car, because I asked my cousin, how far is it, right? So my mother couldn't even park. I literally jumped out of the car, and then that's where I started to scream, and the physical manifestation that I had at home in front of everybody.
So it was literally the manifestation
in front of everybody.
God, when that spirit came from off you, like when that stopped, how did you feel coming out of that?
Okay, let me get into that. It's like born again experience. That's the best way I can explain. I had so much clarity. My identity was restored, because before that it was like I started to find out that everything about me that I thought about me, that this is me, it wasn't the case.
Right.
It was basically the marine kingdom influencing me to look a certain way, like I was telling you, right? To look a certain way, to behave a certain way, everything that I thought it was me, it wasn't me. So even the more I learned about evil altars and how to deal with that and so on and so forth, the more I found out that there were so many things happening in my life or in my family's bloodline that I thought they were normal.
Yes.
But they were not the case. Right?
And you mentioned in the first interview how you had to cut ties with a lot of things. But the sacrifice is what I want to talk to you about now, because you've made a lot of sacrifice to be freed from the marine kingdom, right?
Yes.
And there was a comment that said, we were talking about the type of wigs that we wear, the type of clothes that entertain a certain spirit. And someone in the comment section was, but you guys are still in wig and whatever. But I want you to give your own opinion on that. But I want you to share also the sacrifices that you had to make to get these spirits off you, or just to break them away, because there's sacrifice to make, guys. If you don't make sacrifice, they're gonna keep coming after you, and it's gonna. And one thing I realized, when these spirit husbands feel like them have you, it's so hard for them let go of you.
They are stubborn. They are relentless. That's the word I'm looking for.
Stubborn pursuers. Oh my God! So tell us about the sacrifices, and what would you say to the comments that says, you said the Lord told you to stop wearing the wigs, but yet still you're wearing the wigs. What do you say? Because what I understood from what she said was that there was a time, when God would tell you to take off all of that, and then you when you do go back to wearing jewelry, you are very specific about what you wear, what you put on. That's what I understood.
Okay. Basically, there's a difference, right?
Yeah.
So let me explain with giving an example about myself.
Yeah.
the problem is not the wigs itself, right?
Yeah.
It's about the color of the wigs, like colors that are not natural. So back then, what I used to do basically, I used to have wigs like 400-500 Swiss franc, because I'm from Switzerland, right? I had all kinds of colors.
The pink, the blue, the purple, the yellow.
Exactly. These were not natural colors, right? And that's what the Lord told me personally to get rid of it. And that's why now I cannot, even wearing a wig, okay, synthetic, all right, but not real hair. I cannot do that.
Oh,
because I know where I'm coming from. I know what, you know.
Oh, so you're saying you don't wear human?
I don't wear human.
Okay, understood.
I cannot wear human. So
and what are the other things that got
yes. So we're talking about wigs, and then like everything about me was excessive, right? Jewelry and everything. So it was basically all about vanity. That was my God, basically.
Yeah.
And that's how you can point out the difference, right? I couldn't go out without makeup.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with it, obsessed with beauty. And that's what the Marine Kingdom influenced you to be, right?
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. It's not that, you cannot wear makeup or something like no. When you're obsessed with it, you can't even look at yourself in the mirror, you are not confident. No.
Yeah.
That's why that's the influence of the Spirit right there. And that's why I said when the Lord took me to that journey, He literally told me to just wear white, to throw away my wigs, no makeup. I had to walk around like that. You have to imagine for somebody who was obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So that's what we are talking about. There's a difference. It's not that I personally, I cannot wear jewelry.
Yeah.
Whatever happens to me under the sea, I cannot do it.
And I think that everybody thing is different.
It's different. You cannot. It's not. I'm not making a doctrine out of it. Like some people do that. No, you can't. This is your own revelation, right? Everybody has a different journey. Everybody has different things that are facing. Not because the Lord told me that you cannot do that anymore, right? It's my story. It's the sacrifice that I had to go through because of what has happened, because of the covenant that was established, right?
Yeah.
And the Lord accordingly would tell you, okay, get rid of this, get rid of this. That doesn't mean that it's a doctrine, right?
Totally understand you, and I understand that God will strip you from different things. Yes. There was a time that I didn't feel comfortable wearing jewelry, and the big excessive one I cannot wear. Yes. So that's also a thing.
Because that's what they like. If you understand the Marine Kingdom and how they operate, everything needs to be like bling. We call it bling bling.
Yeah.
Everything needs to be excessive.
Yes.
Right? So for people who didn't grow up with it, they may think it's normal. The trends that you see nowadays, they think it's normal. Right. But for somebody who comes from that world, who understands it, you can easily point out, okay, this is the influence of the Marine Spirit, right? Like we see nowadays in social media.
Right. So what are some of the sacrifices that you had to make holistically to be delivered?
Okay, so for me to tell you about the sacrifice, I have to go back to the background, right?
Yeah.
Because where I'm coming from, it's actually normal to worship the Marine Kingdom. That's how I grew up. I grew up with different rituals that we were doing back then, entertaining mermaids and so on and so forth. Even my mother told me that she saw physically a mermaid.
Yeah.
That's how I grew up.
Yeah.
Right? So basically the whole generation that, like Dr. Stewart was saying, they want the whole generations. That's what my bloodline is into.
Right.
So basically for me to make the sacrifice, it was a journey. The more I learned about the evil altar that was operating in my life, the Marine Kingdom one, because the other one is a whole other story. The more I was learning from Dr. Stewart about it, the more I realized that most of the things that I was doing all along in my life, right, it wasn't of God. Basically, I was a Christian, but I was worshiping another God by practicing the tradition, by practicing the patterns, right, that we were doing. Like going to the beach, offering food, for instance, to in the water, those type of things, or entertaining by doing dance rituals, coming together, gathering together and do certain things that belong to the marine kingdom, right? So the sacrifice basically for me was I couldn't participate. I couldn't go into family gathering like I used to because I knew exactly this is the setup, that this is how they want to do things, right? So for instance, we have a festival every single year that they want to go back home and renew the covenant, right?
Yeah.
So this is another sacrifice. I couldn't participate in that anymore. Right. Because I will renew the covenant, and obviously the situation will get worse, right? And then another sacrifice was when I realized that basically most of my family who lives in Switzerland went back, right? So basically, most of them unknowingly to renew the covenants. I realized that I had to go. I couldn't stay anymore there.
So you cut ties with your family?
Yes. I couldn't stay. I had to leave my mother's house at that moment before they came back because of the spiritual implication that was taking place, because of the covenant that had been renewed spiritually. They issue a death decree over me and my brother, so we had to leave the house.
And if that's not a big sacrifice to be free, I don't know what is. Imagine having to cut ties with your family just to be free. Oh my God. I listened to your story. I'm so happy for you because we are closing, but I want to talk to you about I want you to talk to us about the healing process and the maintenance of your deliverance. But I'm just so proud of you, and I'm proud of what God will do through you, because I've come to learn that your deliverance is not for you, but it's for the generation behind you. When God saved Aniel, he was thinking about the generation behind Aniel. When God saved each of us, he was not just thinking about us, he was thinking about the generation behind us. So when we go through things, we tend to ask God, why? Why am I going through this? Why me? But why not you to carry this great testimony? Why not you to be the victor and not the victim? I am proud of you, and I thank God for your deliverance, and it gives a lot of people hope, because even me, I'm things I can relate to with your story, and has been good.
Yes,
could
definitely.
be sitting here right now if God
couldn't,
if
it wasn't exactly.
So I want you to tell us about your healing process and maintaining your deliverance.
Yes. So something that I noticed when I was doing my research about this topic, right? I noticed that there's teachings about, deliverance and prayers, how to deal with those things, but I haven't seen the part with the healing, how you deal with that. Because you have to imagine, if somebody had been raped, right? Most people would advise them to see a therapist to deal with the trauma.
Right.
It's the same situation in this context, right? It's the same situation. And that's why I cannot stress enough, it's so important not to underestimate the healing part. That's what I did. To actually literally seek for help, not only, because we have one part is deliverance session, casting out demons and so on, okay, but there's a healing part that nobody actually talks about. How do you do with the healing part? You actually have to seek help, whatever it looks like for you, but mostly it will be therapy to deal with the trauma that came in, because to make you better understand what I'm trying to say is basically, because of what I went through, I could not ever again imagine to be intimate with a man. I could not even imagine to be so to go through the journey of healing as well, from the trauma, because we are talking about the soul here. When the soul is wounded, right?
Yes.
So
do you think anything triggers you at the moment, even though you have gone through your deliverance process? Do you think anything from what happened to you triggers you now? That maybe a nightmare, maybe the way someone approaches you?
I think for me it would be movies. Yes, movies with lustful things.
I'm happy that you bring that, because different from just having sex and getting initiated into the marine kingdom, there are movies that cause you to open up your spirit. It open up your spirit to certain demonic activities. And I don't really watch TV, and when I see and on my TikTok, when I scroll I block, because there are some things I do not want to see.
That's the thing with social media. You can't control it. With the television, you can say, I'm not going to watch that. With social media, you have to.
Yeah, they have to just keep blocking and deleting, blocking and deleting. But I don't really watch TV because I realize the agenda of the enemy.
Yes.
When they would. Oh. Guys.